Lena Ortiz walked into the great chamber of the Galactic Council with calm steps. But inside she felt the weight of 1,000 eyes watching her. The room was shaped like a giant oval, filled with light that shifted according to the mood of the delegates. Today, the light had taken a shade of nervous blue. Everyone had heard the same rumor. Everyone had witnessed the same strange report. Somehow, Earth had survived a full invasion attempt by the Gir Dominion, and not only survived, but pushed them back with overwhelming force. The galaxy wanted answers, and now they waited for the only human in the room to speak. The moment she reached the central platform, whispers rose through the chamber. Many aliens had never seen a human before. They expected someone fearful or defensive, but Lena stood tall, her posture steady, her expression unreadable. Behind the council's long desks, holographic screens showed images from the war. Gyre ships falling into oceans, forests covering entire battlegrounds, mountainous creatures walking beside soldiers. None of it made sense to the delegates. Councillor Vren, a tall insectoid with 6 thin arms, clicked his mandibles and addressed her. Ambassador Ortiz of Earth, your world has shocked us. Your species is considered young, scientifically limited, and unprepared for large-scale conflict. Yet, here you stand, after defeating an empire that has conquered 11 planets. Explain how this happened. Lena looked around the room. Hundreds of eyes, some glowing, some blinking sideways, others without pupils focused on her. She took a slow breath and gave a soft nod. I understand your confusion. You want to know how we survived. You want to know why our world answered the attack in a way no one expected. But to explain it, I must start from the beginning. Vren waved a hand. Proceed. Lena lifted her chin slightly. The Gir came thinking we were weak. And yes, at first we believed peace was possible. We tried diplomacy. We sent messages of goodwill. But the Gir wanted control, not peace. When we refused to surrender, they attacked. And they did not only target our cities. They targeted our forests, our oceans, our wildlife. They thought it would break us. Her voice grew quiet. They were wrong. A murmur swept through the chamber. Lena continued, speaking slowly so every species could understand her simple Earth language. When the Gir began destroying natural areas, we expected chaos. We expected panic among animal life. But something else happened. Something we had never witnessed before. Animals across the planet began changing their behavior. It started with wolves in Alaska. Soldiers reported that the wolves guided civilians away from danger. It seemed impossible. Wolves avoid human conflict. Yet hundreds moved together like one mind, blocking alien patrols and leading families through safe paths. One delegate leaned forward. You claim this was coordinated action? Lena nodded. Yes. And that was only the beginning. She described how elephants in Africa formed protective circles around villages, how dolphins led damaged human ships to safety, how birds flew in massive formations, distracting enemy aircraft with precision impossible for ordinary flocks. All of this happened within the first week of the invasion. At first, humanity thought it was coincidence. Animals often reacted to danger, but never at this scale, never with this accuracy. But the behavior kept increasing. In the Amazon rainforest, entire groups of jaguars appeared beside drone squads, striking Gir scouts. In the deserts of Australia, snakes and lizards swarmed toward landing pads, overwhelming machinery with their numbers. It was as if every creature on Earth, large or small, had suddenly taken a side, humanity's side. Councillor Vren tapped the edge of his desk thoughtfully. You suggest that Earth's wildlife acted as if guided by a common intelligence. That is one way to describe it, Lena replied. But humans did not control them? Another delegate asked. No, we did not, and we could not. There is no technology on Earth that allows that. Whatever happened was natural. And it was far bigger than us. Lena paused as memories of those days rose in her mind. She had not fought on the front lines, but she had seen enough footage to last several lifetimes. She remembered a video recorded by a group of mountain rangers. A Gir landing unit had descended into a valley, preparing to burn a forest to clear ground. Before the ships could fire, the entire forest came alive, birds diving at engines, bears rushing from cover, trees shaking with the movement of countless creatures fleeing toward the same point. It was not random, it was not wild, it looked like strategy. The council chamber fell silent as she continued. At first, we were as confused as you are. Scientists across the world began studying the phenomenon. Dr. Rajan Malik, one of our brightest minds, discovered unusual signals in whale songs. Whales were communicating across oceans with patterns never documented. They were sharing information warnings about Gir ship movements, underwater deployments, and energy signatures. Soon after, we found similar patterns in bird migrations. Their routes changed in ways that helped humans predict enemy attacks. And your people trusted these signs? A delegate asked skeptically. Not at first, Lena admitted. But the Gir kept losing. And the more they attacked the planet, the more the planet pushed back. She described the strange storms that formed whenever large Gir fleets gathered. How lightning struck their ships with unnerving precision. How their landing craft malfunctioned whenever they landed near deep forests. How rivers rose and redirected themselves, trapping vehicles in mud that had not been there an hour earlier. Slowly, the picture came together. Humanity did not command these forces, but they benefited from them. Earth itself was responding. As the Gir lost more ground, their commander became desperate, Lena said. His name was Valor Crix. He believed Earth was using what he called biospheric warfare. He sent a final message demanding our surrender, claiming that our planet was a threat to the entire galaxy. And how did humanity respond? Vren asked. We refused to surrender. But we also told him the truth. We told him that whatever was happening was beyond our control. He did not believe us. CN, the delegates exchanged uneasy looks. The Gir Dominion prided itself on being ruthless and logical. They would not accept a threat they did not understand. Lena went on. When the Gir realized that attacking humans was not enough, they targeted the planet even more directly. They began burning forests, poisoning rivers, and bombing coastlines. They wanted to break whatever force was defending us. But the opposite happened, she said softly. The more they heard Earth, the stronger Earth fought back. The memory replayed in her mind. Whirlwinds forming above burning forests. Rainstorms extinguishing fires in minutes. Waves rising over coastal weapons. Soldiers learned to move with animal groups. Fishermen learned patterns in dolphin warnings. Civilians trusted the sudden flight of birds more than radio news. Earth had become a single, breathing force. And humanity had become part of it. Lena looked around the chamber again. You want the exact moment when the galaxy changed? It was when the Gir begged for clemency. Not from us, but from Earth itself. She let the words hang in the air. When the Gir fleet realized they could not win, they sent a distress call. Their ships were trapped in storms. Their landing forces were surrounded by animals. Their machines were failing for reasons no engineer could explain. They asked Earth to stop. Not humans. Earth. The entire chamber froze in silence. Earth responded, Lena said. And that is why I am here today. Because the galaxy must understand that humans did not defeat the Gir alone. We fought with everything we had. But our world fought with us. Our planet never started the war. But it ended it. Her voice softened. That is the beginning of the story. And now you know why the Gir fell. She stepped back from the platform, waiting for the council's next question as the chamber filled with stunned silence. Earth had spoken once through storms, oceans, and creatures. Now, it spoke through her. She stood ready to tell the rest. Dr. Rajan Malik stood on the balcony of the World Science Station, staring at the giant screens that filled the command center. Words and symbols flashed rapidly across them. Animal movement logs, ocean sound patterns, temperature shifts, magnetic field anomalies. All of it pointed to one strange conclusion. Something on Earth was coordinating life on a scale he had never imagined possible. He had studied life systems for 20 years. But the reports arriving now were unlike anything he had ever seen. They came from all corners of the world. Strange animal migrations, synchronized behavior between unrelated species, sudden climate shifts that blocked gyre forces. It felt as if the planet itself was thinking. A young assistant rushed up to him with a tablet. Dr. Malik, another report from the Atlantic Fleet. Rajan took the tablet quickly. The report described something unbelievable. Whales had surrounded a gyre submarine and created a circular pattern of sound waves, confusing the enemy's sensors until the humans could intercept the craft. Whales had never behaved like that in recorded history. "Show me the acoustic map," Rajan said. The assistant tapped the screen. A blue hologram appeared, showing the whale's sound pulses. They were not random. They formed a repeating signal, almost like a coded message. Rajan analyzed it silently. He had seen the same patterns in bird migrations, in insect clusters, even in the movement of deep-sea creatures. Over the last weeks, everything on Earth had begun following similar rhythms. "It's the same pattern again," he whispered. "They are not only reacting to danger, they are communicating." Another scientist stepped beside him. "Communicating with each other? Or communicating with us?" Rajan hesitated. "I'm not sure. But I know one thing: they are reacting to the gyre more intelligently than any of us expected." The science team had little time to think, because alarms suddenly echoed from the lower hall. Massive red lines appeared on the large screens, fresh gyre troop movements detected in South America. Their forces were entering the Amazon rainforest, the largest oxygen source on Earth, and a place filled with life. Rajan felt a wave of worry. If the gyre destroyed the Amazon, the loss would be beyond recovery. The rainforest was more than a forest, it was a living engine that helped Earth breathe. The broadcast switched to a live drone feed from the forest. Gyre walkers, tall silver machines with glowing legs, marched between trees. Their weapons burned any vegetation in their path. The forest floor shook from each step. The machines seemed unstoppable. "Activate the ground teams," someone shouted. But before the human soldiers could reach the site, the forest itself reacted. On the screen, shadows moved in the thick greenery. Dozens of jaguars leaped from branches, striking the gyre scouts. An enormous wave of birds filled the sky, confusing the walkers' sensors. Monkeys swung from vines, pulling down cables from the machines. Every creature, large or small, seemed to fight together in one coordinated motion. One gyre walker tried to rise after being pushed down by falling trees, but the ground beneath it collapsed as armies of ants burrowed around its legs, weakening the soil. The machine toppled over, crashing into the muddy earth. The entire command center fell silent. A Marine officer whispered, "It's like they were waiting for the gyre." Rajan watched the screen with disbelief and fascination. The animals are not just reacting. They're following formation. They're obeying strategy. He leaned closer to the hologram, studying the movement paths of creatures across the forest. The patterns were too precise to be random. It was as if the jungle had become a united force. The officer asked, "Do you think humans are controlling them somehow?" Rajan shook his head firmly. "No. We have nothing that could do this." "Then what is doing it?" the officer pressed. Rajan had no answer. At the same time, thousands of miles away, Ambassador Lena Ortiz continued her explanation to the Galactic Council. She stood in the center of the giant room, telling them about humanity's shock during the first days of the global response. The more the gyre attacked, the more the planet reacted. At first, we were scared. We did not understand what was happening. But soon, it became clear that Earth was protecting itself. A delegate raised a hand. "Are you saying Earth has intelligence?" Lena answered carefully. "Not intelligence the way we think of minds. But Earth has life everywhere. And life communicates in ways we never fully studied. Maybe the attack woke something old, something natural." This caused quiet murmurs among the council members, but Lena continued her story. In Alaska, large numbers of wolves had formed an unbroken line across a snowy valley to block a gyre transport route. Local soldiers followed the wolves, who led them through hidden mountain paths, helping them reach trapped civilians. No one trained the wolves. They simply acted. In Japan, entire groups of crows picked up small metal pieces from broken machines and dropped them onto enemy scanners, creating false signals that saved hundreds of lives. In India, elephants walked side by side with human rescue teams, pulling large vehicles out of danger zones and moving heavy debris that humans could not handle alone. Every continent reported similar stories. Some were small, like bees, creating massive swarms to cover Gir sensors. Some were enormous, like whales, forcing enemy submarines to the surface. The Gir Dominion found themselves fighting not only humans but everything on Earth. Even so, they tried harder. Commander Valor Crix, who led the invasion, grew frustrated. He believed in power and order. He believed the galaxy belonged to the strongest. And in his eyes, humans were too weak to resist him. He could not understand how animals were interfering so effectively, so he doubled his attacks. He deployed machines that burned forests faster. He released chemicals into rivers. He used sonic weapons to drive wildlife away. But instead of fleeing, the wildlife came together in larger numbers. Rajan Malik discovered the reason a few days later. He played a recording of whale calls and compared them with electromagnetic wave patterns detected in forests and deserts. To everyone's shock, the patterns matched. Different species were exchanging information through natural communication channels that humans had never understood. "It's like a network," Rajan said, pointing to the lines of light connecting points around the globe. "A biological network. A planetary network." A soldier asked, "Is this natural?" Rajan nodded slowly. "Yes, but we never noticed it before. The planet is full of rhythms, magnetic fields, water currents, tree roots, fungal networks, animal migrations. When combined, they form something like a global response system. The Gir attack awakened it." He paused. "Earth is acting like a living shield." At first, the idea sounded impossible. But as the days passed, the evidence grew too strong to ignore. Every time the Gir planned a major attack, storms formed suddenly in the area. Every time they dropped into a forest, animals appeared before human soldiers even reached the site. Every time they tried to destroy something important to Earth, the planet responded. Humans did not lead the defense. They simply joined it. The council listened as Lena explained the most shocking part. When the Gir forces started losing battles, their commander tried to make peace. "But not with us." She paused, allowing the weight of her words to settle. "They sent a message asking Earth itself to stop attacking." The chamber fell silent again. "You mean they thought Earth was the enemy?" a delegate asked. "They saw storms destroy their fleets," Lena said. "They saw animals break their machines. They saw rivers shift and mountains vibrate. They believed Earth had become a warrior." "And was it?" another delegate asked. Lena gave a calm, steady answer. "Earth defended life. That is all." Back on Earth, the war reached a turning point. The Gir launched their largest assault yet, dropping entire firestorm reactors into protected zones. They believed that if they destroyed enough natural systems, whatever force coordinated Earth's creatures would weaken. But that move awakened something even deeper. Storm clouds gathered across continents. Oceans produced waves taller than buildings. Trees shook without wind. Animals left their shelters and moved in massive groups. It felt as though the entire planet had taken a long breath and was ready to respond with all its strength. Rajan Malik, standing outside the station, felt the ground vibrate under his feet. "It's happening again," he whispered. Nature had become a shield. Humans were only one part of it now. The Gir had realized the truth too late. Earth was awake, and it was not afraid. Rajan Malik stood in the main hall of the World Science Station, surrounded by glowing maps of Earth. The maps showed animal movements, ocean patterns, storms forming, and sudden magnetic shifts. All these signals came together in strange, repeating waves. They were not random. They were organized. And every wave pushed against the Gir invasion. He stared at the patterns on the screens and felt a mixture of awe and worry. A large storm had just formed above the Pacific Ocean without warning. It grew faster than any storm recorded in human history. The formation matched the same pattern used by whales when warning each other. It was as if the entire ocean had decided to fight. When Rajan walked closer to the screen, he whispered, "Earth is preparing for something big." A marine officer near him turned. "If Earth is preparing, then so are we." The officer pointed at the global feed. On the screen, human soldiers were working side by side with animals. Wolves scouted ahead of mountain troops. Dolphins swam along submarines, creating waves that hid their movements. Birds flew above convoys, warning them whenever Gir drones approached. None of this was planned by humans, but it was happening everywhere. In Africa, elephants cleared paths for evacuation. In Europe, flocks of birds moved in circles to confuse Gir scanners. In Asia, big cats hunted down patrol units with incredible accuracy. Humans followed the signals and learned to trust Earth more each day. Rajan watched a video from the Philippines, where fishermen recorded a strange event. A group of whales had formed a perfect circle in the water, humming in low tones. As they sang, Gir ships above them lost power and fell into the sea. No human technology could explain it. The marine officer whispered, "How do they know where the ships are?" Rajan answered softly, "Because they hear everything. They feel everything. Earth is full of senses we never understood." At the same time, on the other side of the world, Commander Valor Crix stood inside the Zir flagship, staring at a tactical map that made no sense to him. All his attack routes were blocked, his energy lines were cut, his landing armies disappeared inside forests. His underwater units never returned. He slammed his claws against the table. "Why do these creatures fight us? They should run. They should hide." His officers hesitated. One of them, a smaller Gir named Elnor, spoke carefully. "Commander, the planet is reacting as one. It is not random. We believe it is coordinated." "Coordinated by the humans?" Valor hissed. "No, Commander. Humans do not have this capacity." Valor's anger grew. "Then who? Who leads these creatures?" Elnor looked down. "The planet itself, perhaps." Valor stared at him in disbelief. "A planet cannot think. We do not know that anymore," Elnor replied. Before Valor could respond, alarms began ringing across the bridge. A massive storm was forming above their orbital platform. It grew faster than their systems could track. Lightning danced through the clouds, striking their shields repeatedly. Valor looked at the sky with fear he had never felt before. Meanwhile, back on Earth, soldiers in South America were pushing deeper into the Amazon to rescue trapped civilians. The forest was thick, the air warm and heavy, and the ground soft from recent rain. They moved cautiously, knowing Zaire units were nearby. Suddenly, one soldier heard leaves rustle to his left. He raised his weapon, expecting enemy scouts. But instead, a large jaguar stepped out. Its golden eyes were calm, its posture relaxed. The soldiers froze in confusion. The jaguar turned its head slowly, looked deeper into the forest, then looked back at the soldiers. It repeated this motion as if inviting them to follow. The squad leader whispered, "Is it helping us?" The jaguar moved ahead, pausing now and then to make sure the humans kept up. After several minutes, the soldiers reached a large clearing where civilians were hiding. The jaguar faded into the trees. "Its job done," one soldier said quietly. "We're not saving Earth. Earth is saving us." Across the world, similar stories appeared. Bears pushed fallen trees off roads. Birds shrieked minutes before ambush attacks. Schools of fish blocked underwater mines. Everything living was reacting with purpose. Rajan studied all these patterns in the science station. He placed his hand on the main console, thinking deeply. He had seen enough to form a theory. He pressed the communication button. "Connect me to Ambassador Ortiz," he said. Moments later, Lena Ortiz appeared on the screen. She was still inside the Galactic Council chamber, surrounded by delegates. "Dr. Malik," she said, "do you have new information?" "Yes," Rajan replied. "I believe Earth has a global intelligence. Not one mind, but many working together." Animals, oceans, forests, magnetic fields, weather systems, everything is connected. The council members leaned closer. Rajan continued, "Our planet has always had communication systems. Whale songs, bird migrations, fungal networks beneath forests, electrical signals in the atmosphere. But they normally work separately. The Jir attack changed that. Everything fused together. The entire planet is now reacting as one large defense system." One delegate asked, "Are you suggesting Earth is sentient?" Rajan hesitated. "Not in the way we think of people or species. But Earth is alive. And life can respond. The attack activated something ancient and powerful." The council whispered nervously, but Lena nodded. "This explains everything." Rajan continued. "Earth fights to protect humans. Yes, but also to protect itself. The Jir threaten all life. So all life responds." The delegates were stunned. Some were curious, others fearful. Lena said, "Dr. Malik, we need to know, how strong is this planetary response?" Rajan took a breath. "It is still growing." At that moment, a new feed appeared on the science station monitors. Jir forces had gathered their largest army so far in Asia, preparing for a major offensive. They had built a massive energy generator capable of burning through thousands of kilometers of land in minutes. The world watched in dread as the Jir machine activated. A huge beam of light shot into the sky. The ground shook. Trees caught fire. Animals fled from the heat. Then something impossible happened. The wind changed direction. Clouds gathered instantly above the machine. A storm appeared out of nowhere. Rain poured so heavily that even the electronic feed blurred. Lightning bolts struck the energy generator again and again until it exploded. The shockwave rolled across the land, but the storm softened it, protecting the forests. Humans watching the feed were silent. Earth had stopped the attack. Minutes later, dolphins appeared on the coast near Japan, pushing debris from destroyed ships toward human rescue teams. Wolves gathered near mountain villages to guide civilians. Birds formed spirals over battlefields, signaling where enemy units were hiding. Everything was connected. As the Jir lost more ground, Commander Valor realized he had underestimated the planet. His fear turned into rage. He ordered a full retreat to his orbital command center to prepare a desperate move, a scorched world weapon that would burn everything. But as he prepared his weapon, the sky above him glowed. The global storm that had destroyed his forces was rising into space. Lightning hit his flagship. Then another strike. Then another. The ship's engines failed. The weapon was disabled. His fleet fell apart. Valor screamed orders, but nothing worked. Earth had reached him, even in orbit. On the ground, Rajan watched the readings with disbelief. "The storm followed them into space," he whispered. "The planet is defending itself at all levels." The war was ending. Humanity advanced with Earth's creatures beside them. Jir units surrendered across continents. Many simply collapsed from fear. The invasion was finished, but the galaxy still needed answers. And Lena Ortiz stood ready to give them. She looked at the council and said, "You asked how Earth defeated them. This is the truth. We fought. But Earth fought harder." The chamber remained silent for a long time. Lena knew part 4 of the story would be the hardest to explain. The hall of the United Planetary Council was silent as the humans stepped forward. Every species present had seen the broadcasts. They had watched the skies of Earth blaze with light as the creatures of the planet rose together. They had watched the Zyran Armada retreat in fear for the first time in their long history. They had watched an ancient world, once labeled primitive and unimportant, stand against an empire that had crushed hundreds. But no one expected what followed. The creatures of Earth had stopped their destruction once the last Zyran ships fled. They had returned to their homes as if nothing happened. The oceans calmed, the forests settled, the skies became peaceful again. Humanity did not chase the fleeing enemy. They did not claim victory. They only sent a message. We want peace. Do not return. Now, every species waited to hear the humans speak. Ambassador Aiden Hale stood with a calm expression. His hair was slightly messy. His suit simple, but his eyes held a strange mix of tiredness and confidence. He was joined by Dr. Mira Devon, the leading xenobiologist of Earth, and Captain Elias Ward, the man who witnessed the creatures respond to the call for clemency. Across from them stood the Zyran delegation, smaller than before. Their proud stance was gone. Their eyes avoided contact. The memory of the creatures responding to the plea still broke their pride. For the first time in centuries, they feared. Aiden waited until the noise died. Then he started speaking. He explained that Earth did not desire revenge. He explained that the creatures had responded because humanity begged for clemency, not for war. He explained the truth that shocked most of the galaxy: the creatures were not weapons, they were not controlled or commanded. They acted on instinct, on millennia of connection to the world they inhabited. They rose when their planet cried for mercy. Many in the council could not understand it. How could a world act as one? How could creatures of different species unite? How could Earth, a world seen as chaotic and wild, show a level of unity that even advanced civilizations could not achieve? As Aiden finished speaking, the room filled with confused murmurs. Some praised the humans, some feared them. Some thought Earth was hiding military power behind a myth. The council leader, a tall, crystalline being named Oroth, stood and demanded clarity. Aiden did not answer this time. Instead, Dr. Mira stepped forward. She spoke with steady calm. She described how Earth's creatures had evolved together, how they sensed danger not only to themselves but to the balance of the planet. She spoke of whales whose songs traveled across oceans, of wolves whose howls connected entire territories, of birds whose migrations predicted storms, of forests that shared signals underground through roots and fungi. She explained that humans alone could not have resisted the Zyrans, but Earth itself, the living network of creatures, heard the fear. They answered in a way no enemy had ever faced. Some council members struggled to believe it. Others listened with growing awe. Captain Elias finally spoke, describing the night the creatures answered. He shared how the deep-sea leviathans rose to shield coastal cities, how the sky darkened with wings, how forests defended villages with barriers made of roots and vines, how mountains shook to create walls of stone. He spoke not like a soldier boasting, but like a man still trying to understand a miracle. A quiet fear crept into the room. Some species believed Earth was too dangerous to exist freely. Some considered placing restrictions on Earth or isolating it to protect the galaxy. Others argued that Earth should be honored, respected, perhaps even guided. But the Zyran delegation broke the silence first. The leader, Takar of the Ninth House, stepped forward. His voice trembled as he spoke. He bowed his head, a gesture no Zyran soldier had performed in recorded history. He apologized for their attack. He admitted their empire had underestimated Earth. He admitted they had broken treaties. And he offered peace, not out of strength but out of survival. This shocked the entire chamber. The Zyrans, known for cruelty and dominance, were now begging for peaceful terms. Aiden nodded slowly. Humanity accepted peace. But with conditions. Earth must not be approached with hostile intent again, and the Zyrans must withdraw from the smaller worlds they were still occupying. There would be no revenge, no destruction, only balance. The council debated for hours. Some argued for punishment. Others wanted caution. But in the end, they agreed. The memory of Earth's creatures rising to protect their world was too fresh to ignore. The treaty was approved. Peace was restored. But the story did not end there. As the humans left the council building, they stepped into a vast plaza filled with representatives from dozens of worlds. Many stepped aside respectfully. Others approached with curiosity. A few with silent fear. It was the first time in galactic history that humans were not ignored or judged as insignificant. They were now a species marked by an impossible event. Reporters from different worlds asked endless questions. How did the creatures know? Could humans call them again? Were they allies? Were they guardians? Or were they a warning to those who sought to harm Earth? Aiden answered honestly, no one knew. The creatures acted on instinct. They could not be controlled. They responded to Earth's own need for balance. not human commands. Humanity was as surprised as the galaxy. The greatest mystery was whether the creatures would rise again if danger returned. No one knew the answer. Back on Earth, things changed slowly. Scientists across the world studied new behaviors in animal species. They found deeper networks of communication that had never been understood before. Whales sang longer, more complex songs. Wolves expanded their territories, but avoided human settlements with unusual precision. Birds changed migration patterns, as though mapping the skies with new purpose. Forests grew faster, thicker, healthier. It was as if Earth itself had awakened. People felt it too. A sense of calm spread throughout cities. Nations that once stood divided felt less tension. Environmental efforts grew stronger. Humanity recognized their world as a living partner rather than a tool. Still, some feared the power Earth had shown. Military groups across the galaxy tried to understand it. Spies tried to infiltrate. Explorers visited Earth more carefully, and many species sent diplomats hoping to learn from the humans who lived on a world that answered their call. Months passed. Captain Elias walked along a cliffside overlooking the sea one night. The waves were calm, reflecting the long trail of moonlight. He remembered the night the creatures rose. He remembered the deep rumble of the ocean, the tremors of the ground, the echo of wings. He wondered if it would happen again. He wondered if Earth would one day rise not in defense but in grief, anger, or pain. Dr. Mira joined him, looking tired but hopeful. She told him that studies showed something new. Earth's creatures were listening more closely to human emotions. They were forming stronger bonds. Humanity's fear had once reached them. But perhaps humanity's hope could do the same. Elias felt a strange comfort in that. Maybe Earth responded not just to fear, but to unity. Maybe that was the real secret. Meanwhile, Aiden returned from another council meeting with surprising news. Several planets wanted alliances. Some wanted cultural exchange. Some wanted scientific cooperation. A few even wanted to learn Earth's ecological harmony, hoping to protect their own worlds. Earth had changed the galaxy not through war but through connection. Months later, the Sirens sent a final message. They had withdrawn from all occupied planets. They had started reforming their government. They declared that they wished to learn from Earth rather than conquer it. This astonished the galaxy. Some believed the Sirens were using strategy. Others believed they were truly afraid. But Aiden knew fear could not change a species alone. Something deeper was happening. The Sirens had seen something no empire had ever seen before, a world that rose at once. A world unified not by weapons, but by life. Time passed, and Earth stepped into a new age. Human explorers traveled to distant worlds, carrying peace instead of fear. Creatures on Earth lived in harmony with humans more than ever. Cities grew greener, oceans recovered, forests expanded. People learned to listen. The galaxy began calling Earth by a new name, the living world. Some called humans the children of the living world. Others whispered that Earth was a guardian waiting for the right moment. But humans simply continued their lives. Knowing their world listened, watched, and protected them in ways they could never fully understand. One evening, as the sun set behind glowing clouds, Aiden, Mira, and Elias stood together near the ocean. The wind was gentle, the waves soft. Birds circled overhead, far in the deep water. A massive shape moved slowly, peacefully, a creature that had once risen in fury, now drifting in calm. Elias smiled as he watched the horizon. Mira closed her eyes and listened to the sound of nature. Aiden felt the weight of responsibility, but also hope. Earth had responded once. It would respond again if truly needed. But humanity had learned an important truth. Protection was not power. Connection was, and somewhere in the depths, the great creatures listened, their silent promise echoing through the waves. The galaxy had begged for clemency once. If the day ever came again, the creatures of Earth would answer.